Hey guys, I'm Kylie Moon. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a Q&A. So I asked you guys to give me some questions so I can answer them, and you guys came up with some really awesome questions. There wasn't a question that I didn't like. They were really fun. Some of them are really deep, and so I'm so excited to be answering all those questions for you guys today. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to break the questions up into three categories. The first one is going to be ASL questions. The second one is going to be faith-based questions or questions about God and my faith and godly questions. And then the third one is going to be like random or fun questions that really don't fit those two categories, but I guess fun questions. So let's get started. So let's start with the ASL questions because my channel's mainly about ASL. Okay, so question one. How many years have you been doing ASL? And then I'm going to add to that question, how did you learn ASL? So I have been doing ASL for 2.5 years. I learned through a curriculum for high school. I had to choose a language and I had to do it for 2 consecutive years. So I chose ASL and I learned from a curriculum that taught me the basics of ASL and deaf culture. It taught me a lot of the phrases and the words and somewhat the sentence structure. So I got the basics down, and then after that I became self-taught. I learned from YouTube videos and websites and some apps, but mainly websites. And because I learned the basics, I kind of knew how to put things together, and so I kind of taught myself from the curriculum and the websites, and then I just put it together. But I'm still not fluent and I'm still not an expert. What made you want to learn ASL? That's a good question. Well, um, when I was younger, my parents used to sign to us, just me and my brother. We used to use, I guess, baby signs, just simple words like bathroom or eat or more. What else? Stop now. We would be sitting in church and we would kind of be loud. My mom would look over at us, stop now. And we would understand. So when we were younger, we used a little ASL, like very little. And then I knew how to sign my name by the age of 5. But then as I grew older, we stopped using it. I knew of ASL. But I was always captivated and always just mesmerized by how beautiful the language is. And so when I got to high school and I had to choose a language, I was so excited to choose ASL because I was just so passionate about it ever since I was younger. So I guess that's why I wanted to learn ASL. It's just a beautiful language altogether. How long does it take for you to interpret a song? That is a very good question. Um, okay, it takes me 2 to 3.5, sometimes 4 hours to make one video, one song cover. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one, the biggest reason is because I'm a perfectionist and I'm trying to work on that. But if I make the slightest mistake, and I can detect when I make the slightest mistake, I do it all over again. So I do it a bunch of times until I can do it all the way through. So being a perfectionist, it takes me hours to get something done. Also, if I don't know the song, it takes me a while to listen to it and to finally understand what's coming next. Sometimes the lyrics just mess me up. I think it's gonna say this thing, but it says another thing. So that's always kind of hard for me. But most of the times I know the songs because they play a lot on the radio. Um, but even then, I have to look at the lyrics, I have to read the lyrics, and then I have to think how I'm going to interpret the song because I don't interpret word for word. Whatever the singer's saying, I'm not always signing the exact same thing. I'm interpreting it in a way that it makes sense in ASL. So that part doesn't take too long, but doing the videos takes at least 2 hours. And the more I do them, the more fluid and natural I get at ASL. So it doesn't take as long anymore, but roughly 2 hours. What song was your favorite to interpret? That is another good question. Oh, I have interpreted a lot of songs. Um, well, I think my favorite video is always the video that I put the most recent, because my ASL is better than it was the last video, and you know that song is just the song that I really like at that moment. But my favorite video, my favorite song to interpret, I liked Giants Fall. I heard that video, heard that song play a lot on the radio. But then when I sat down and listened to it, I really loved the message. So I loved interpreting that song. And then I liked I Can't Give Up Now by Mary Mary. Even though it was repetitive, I still really liked it because I loved the message. I love doing all the songs. I can't just choose one. All of them were really fun to interpret. And the last question is kind of a statement type thing. It says, are you able to explain briefly about ASL phrases? I've been learning and I know 3 languages, but putting together sentences are somewhat hard for me. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm not an expert, I'm not an interpreter, so what I say, I hope is correct, but if it's not, then there's a disclaimer. So I think I learned this in my curriculum. When you sign, you're not gonna sign exactly how you say things in English because ASL is a completely different language. It is not English. It is American Sign Language. So, for example, let me take off my rings. When you say, what is your name? You're not going to sign what is your name. You're not going to sign like that. Instead, the correct way is name what you. Now, you put the subject first and then you put the question after. So like I said, not what is your name, it's name what you. Also, you point to the other person or yourself when you finish a sentence. That's just signaling that you're done signing and then the other person can sign. It's like a period, you complete your sentence. So I think that's how you're supposed to sign questions. How I don't conversate in ASL at all. I conversate with myself in the mirror or when I'm doing something by myself because no one in my family knows how to sign, and I don't know anyone who's deaf. So I don't conversate every day in ASL. I can't because I don't have anyone. And I should go to the ASL meetups, but as of right now, I don't do it every day. But that's how I learned from the curriculum. But that is the best way I can describe it. And another thing, if you're learning ASL, the biggest tip that I can give, the biggest advice is facial expressions. So a lot of you have said you love my facial expressions. I'm so emotional. They're sometimes funny. They make me cry, whatever. That's what ASL is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about gestures, signs, and facial expressions. So when you sign, it is very, very important that you use facial expressions because they have to differentiate I'm going to the store from I'm going to the store. You see, I'm asking a question in the second one. When I lift my eyebrows, I'm asking a question. So that's why facial expression is very important. So they can kind of detect your tone if you're asking a question or if you're stating something. If it feels awkward to do facial expressions, practice in the mirror. Practice just talking to yourself in the mirror and look at your facial expressions when you talk normally. And then when you sign, look at your facial expressions. For me, I guess it wasn't that hard because I'm a very expressive person. As you can tell, I'm just talking, I'm not even signing, and my facial expressions are just going crazy. I'm just an expressive person. So if you're not, just practice in the mirror when you sign and when you're just talking in English. And it will get natural as you continue signing. So I hope that helps. Again, I'm not an expert, but that is what I learned from my curriculum. So don't learn from me. Make sure you go out and look at different sources, experts, and interpreters to learn fully.